The night the stars bled silver across the inky canvas, a hunter named Vincent was jolted from the quietude of his cabin by a sound far more fragile and insistent, a baby's cry. "A baby crying in the middle of the mountains?" he muttered, his calloused hand instinctively reaching for the familiar heft of his axe. He thought an intruder snuck in. Now thinking of their bad luck if they came to rob. Standing with the axe in hand at the open door. He thought this because the house belonged to a hunter. Drawn by the persistent wails, Vincent ventured out into the moon-drenched landscape. He followed the sound, his senses on high alert. He lunged with his axe to attack the intruder, but to his shock no one could be found. Standing alone, he thought he was hallucinating as he could not have a baby. Now his eyes fell on a baby sleeping on a couch. Vincent could not believe his eyes. He quickly picks it up and checks its heartbeat. To his shock, he senses a small heartbeat from him. With a slight smile, he was so happy to have that child. Back in the meager light of their cabin, the shock deepened when Olena, her face etched with concern from the distant cries she too had heard, arrived. Her eyes widened in disbelief at the sight of the infant in Vincent's arms. Vincent could only shake his head, a whirlwind of confusion, as they cradled the child, a fragile life against their weathered hands. They accepted that child to be theirs from then on. The serene tapestry of the night sky began to churn with an unnatural energy. Clouds, dark and heavy, whipped into a frenzy by a sudden biting wind. And then, as if summoned by the infant's presence, life-giving rain began to fall, a torrential downpour that drummed against the roof of their small cabin, quenching the parched earth with a primal force, the soil turning a rich, dark brown. The villagers, their faces upturned to the heavens, wept tears of joy. A mage, sent to deliver them from despair. Years unfurled into a peaceful rhythm. Arian grew into a quiet, observant boy, his constant companion a large, well-worn book titled The Story of the Kind Mage. One sun-drenched afternoon, as Vincent, his muscles corded from a day's work in the forest, returned home, he found 12-year-old Arian nestled beneath the sprawling branches of an ancient oak, his nose buried in his beloved book. His father brought some wood to cook food, so he took him to eat. "Dad, I'm curious about something. What do I need to do to use magic?" Vincent chuckled. "With one arrow, you can kill a bear, and with one strike of an axe." As they walked home, hand in hand, they encountered two other village children. "It's Mr. Vincent, and Chiron too. We always ask him to play with us, but he's always reading books," the other added. "Do you think it's a lie that he can read?" As Vincent carried his load of wood through the village, his brow furrowed with a vague unease. He overheard snippets of conversation from the children playing in a nearby field. "He's so scrawny and doesn't look like Mr. Vincent at all. My mom said he's not their real son," a silent rebellion against the unfairness of their words. "How dare those brats?" Chiron, not minding their words, asked, "To cut a tree with one strike it's magic, right?" Now Vincent, happy to see his child help him, he would take him to city tomorrow. Him thinking of himself to be lacking for Chiron, gently placed a calloused hand on Arian's head. "But no matter what anyone says, Chiron, you're my son. I want to know more," he thought, his gaze drifting back to the worn cover of his beloved book, towards the distant horizon, where the spires of a sprawling city shimmered under the clear blue sky. What awaited Arian in the bustling streets of Craze? "Wow, so this is the city." Someone eating some food, while some bought some clothes, his wagon stopping, father explaining him until he finishes his work he has wait at his grandfather's shop. He also cautioned, "But you mustn't go into dark alleys and run into the nobles, okay?" Chiron replied with a confident nod. As Chiron watches his father go to his work, Arian, meanwhile, found himself drawn to a fruit stand. Arian, always eager to be helpful, offered to assist. "Oh my, you write very well," the older man complimented. "Thank you. You didn't need to." The older man chuckled, thinking, although he's young, he's quite bright. "My Martin is the town's troublemaker." "Grandpa," Arian called out to the fruit seller, "do you know what magic is?" The older man looked surprised. "We should eat." Arian, "No, magic, what do I need to do to be able to use magic?" The older man finally understood. Grandpa understood he is at age where things like mage and guns excites him. Chiron looking Grandpa with hope of finding new info. Granda, not knowing much about magic, pointed his finger to the bookstore, telling Chiron that there are many books there. "Do you want to go? Look around for a little bit and come back." Shine excited, "Really? Then I'll be right back." He took the book, remarking, "Haha, when I was young, I read these children's books too. What a memory, let's have a look." But his amusement quickly turned to astonishment. The pages were filled with complex diagrams and arcane symbols. "What then before?" he murmured, realizing he was asking me how he could use magic. Suddenly, a sharp voice interrupted. "No! You can't touch these with your dirty hands," glaring at Arian. "Can't I just have a little look at the book?" Arian asked timidly. "A commoner can't look at these expensive books," she retorted. Arian wondered. "They're really expensive. Where did Dad buy that book from then?" Landlord arrived at the store, while the owner greets him in shock to see Chiron going through books, reading the books by just flipping the pages. "Tio, think it was this hard to look at a book," he thought sadly. Just then, another man entered, carrying a box overflowing with books. He ran to him to know where was he going, Noble dumping all the books as garbage, while Chiron in shock to see that. He's standing near the garbage seeing all the books lying around, him now realizing where his dad got his book from. Watching Nobles with the side look. Nobles! Arian watched them, a question forming in his mind. How are they different from me? Getting flashback what his father said to him. He continued walking. Why are they allowed? His eyes then drifted upwards towards the grand buildings. But I'm not. Suddenly, a rough hand grabbed Arian by the neck. "Kid," a gruff voice said. A larger figure loomed over him. "This isn't a place where a kid like you can go around by yourself. Beyond this gate is the area for nobles." Another guard approached, saying, "Hold on. Where did you come from? Where are your parents?" The first guard eyed him suspiciously. "Isn't he a little suspicious?" The second guard mused. "I'm sure he's an orphan. He might be an errand boy that those thieves are raising." He looked down at Arian. "Kid, I think you need to come with us." Just as the guard tightened his grip, he suddenly recoiled, releasing Arian. The two guards who had initially stopped Arian were now looking around in confusion. Arian, hiding behind the large planter box. Did they leave? He wondered. A sigh of relief escaped his lips. "Phew," he whispered, wiping a bead of sweat from his brow. He then stood up, holding his shirt open. "I'm going to get in trouble from Dad, right?" he thought. He saw his shoe fallen near the wall, went to pick it up and wore it. Suddenly, a calm voice echoed from nearby. "Let's talk about the topic of what is magic." Arian's head snapped up. "No, headmaster!" Talk between children and master was going on. "Show me how you extinguish the fire." He then realized where he was. Then this place is a magic school. Arian sat up, leaning against a nearby stone wall. "What talent is needed the most in order to learn magic?" "Wisdom." "You have yet to tell us the answer." Arian frowned. "So it's not wisdom, effort, or money. Then do you need to be a noble?" "The talent that is most crucial to learning magic is insight." Two younger students looked up with wide, curious eyes. "What's insight?" The headmaster turned towards them. "Does anyone here know what 1 + 1 is? Then can anyone explain why it's 2? Because it's obvious. That weird feeling you have right now is what's called insight." Arian was then shown standing before a large brick wall, the sunlight casting his shadow long before him. "So, insight is more accurate than wisdom and faster than effort." Arian's eyes widened further. "Cultivate your talent and you, too, can become a mage." The words echoed in Arian's mind. "Become a mage? Will a chance like that come to me too?" The headmaster's face appeared in close-up. Child who's standing behind the wall. "I want to know what your thoughts are." Arian, startled, realized the headmaster knew he was there all along. "I got caught," Arian thought in a panic. Another thought followed quickly. "Do I need to run away? Or reply? On top of that, I look like a mess." All of a sudden, a thought came to me. He then launched himself upwards. "If I don't jump over this wall," he thought, clinging to the top of the wall, "I will regret it forever." A close-up of his face revealed his shock and apprehension. The next moment, as he saw a large garden, with an old man and children sitting under a tree. Old man asked did he come to accompany him? He was headmaster of Magic Academy. Chiron, blushing behind the wall, closes his eyes and, with his strength, jumped across the wall. The wall standing tall, which Chiron lunged. Now walking forward, nervous, came close to the tree. The students huddled beneath the ancient oak, their whispers like, "Principal, he isn't a noble. I think he's a lowly commoner. Get out!" Chiron looked up with a mix of apprehension and hope at the older man. "I want to see magic. they confessed as he never seen magic before. I've only read about it in books, but I've never seen it in person. Liar! What kind of lowly commoner reads books? Their shoulders slumping in a gesture of pleading. It doesn't matter what kind of magic it is. The older man, it's really no big deal. Let me show you the magic of wind. The young protagonist, however, looked on with a mixture of awe and disbelief. A silent wind? A powerful gust of wind erupted, catching the young protagonist off guard. The force intensified, and the young protagonist, along with the others, were lifted into the air. Upward they soared, the initial shock giving way to exhilaration for the young protagonist. The ground receded below as they were carried higher and higher. Now all children in air started to fall down. Chiron in fear of falling. Floating amongst the clouds, the young protagonist found themselves tumbling upside down. I'm going to crash! Him shouting as he reached close to the ground. Finding themselves lying on their back in mid-air, the robed students looking on with varying degrees of amusement and concern. The older man's voice boomed. This is what magic is. The young protagonist, now sitting up, their initial excitement tempered with a newfound understanding, could only murmur, "Magic? What is it?" The older man began his explanation. Magic is something that surpasses logic. In other words, it's a mental activity that explores the truth of a phenomenon. Overwhelmed, they pleaded, "Just tell me exactly what it is." The robed students exchanged worried glances. That attitude towards the headmaster. Even teachers can't act like that towards him. The close-up on the older man's stern eye emphasizing his authority. Old man now starting to talk in difficult terms, telling him about magic which surpasses logic. Chiron, understanding his words and even arguing with him, made a very good point. This left all the others in shock. The master, in excitement to find such a talented kid, asks him did he read that in books too? No, I found a common point in the books. Maybe the truth is hidden in the unusual. The older man stroked his beard. Indeed. Turning to the older man, the young protagonist asked directly, "How can I learn magic?" The older man smiled knowingly. He is a wise child. The young protagonist's gaze was resolute. Does he really believe he can do it? But unfortunately, he's a commoner. Instead of a detailed explanation, I prefer showing a demonstration, he called out. Head into the spirit zone. Yes, headmaster, she replied. Chiron, the young protagonist, looked around in surprise, echoing, "Spirit zone? I've entered the zone," girl replied. The older man, now seated under the ancient tree with the other students gathered around, clasped his hands together. "Now, can you guess how many coins are in my hand?" he asked. 6. The older man opened his hand, revealing 6 glowing coins. How? When a mage focuses, the mind becomes so sensitive that they can sense everything around them. This is the extremely sensitive mindset, spirit zone. He explains mages can sense outside world and control the phenomenon, showing 3 coins in his hand. The coins weren't counted. The situation in front was sensed as a whole. Then maybe I can do it. First, feel yourself. Practice in a quiet place. Then, erase. With the older man stating, anyone can do it, but not everyone can do it. If you can do that, then a whole new world will open. A close-up of the young protagonist's surprised face followed. Because if you can't feel yourself, erasing yourself would also be impossible. The older man, amused, asked, "He keeps surprising me. Will you try it?" Here. Anyhow, if he can't go into the spirit zone, he won't be able to learn magic itself. Now Chiron closes his eyes, trying to go into spirit zone. What is me? Brain. No, that's a body part. The focus shifted to perception. The senses and reality I feel cannot escape the idea of a brain. Instead of defining it, feel it. Erase the things that I feel are me, one by one, it urged, a glowing hand reaching out, attempting to grasp the intangible self, a hand emanating light, signifying the mind's power. Now the older man, seated beneath the large tree with the students gathered around, looked directly at Chiron. How is it? The students watched with bated breath. The older man leaned forward. What did you feel? He asked, his gaze intent. Chiron, looking upwards with a slightly bewildered expression, responded, Sound. I heard all the sounds. Is it just as I thought he can't The things that happen in the spirit world are in another dimension. Older man gently placing his hand on Chiron's head. Good work. If you work hard, you'll be able to hear even more sounds. Showing the older man leading the group of students. Now, this is it for the special class. And, let's go back to the school. Chiron was then shown standing alone again. How unfortunate. He was a kid with talent. If that child was a noble and trained from a young age, wouldn't he have had similar achievements as these children? But, there are too many talented kids in the world. Chiron clinging precariously to a high brick wall. Chiron falling more dramatically. A building in the background and more sound effects. A close-up of Chiron's distressed face followed. It really, looking up with wide, surprised eyes, tears or sweat on their face. Really, worked. The air thrummed with an unseen energy. Is this really the spirit zone? A sense of self scattering into countless fragments, and spread far and wide around the world, the voice declared, as glowing streaks of azure light shot upwards. I myself have become, the voice stated, as a central blue orb radiated light. A part of the world, the voice concluded. The endless vastness made me shudder, ran towards a vanishing point on a seemingly never-ending road. It was just for a moment, but I broke away from my physical form, and I became infinity, blazed across the urban landscape below. A jarring impact, a sudden stumble, as the figure landed hard on a cobbled street. The sudden, painful fall from grace. Sorry, the blonde-haired figure stammered, picking themselves up, but the apology was met with a chilling response. Who do you think you are? As a group of menacing figures loomed over the fallen one. The blonde-haired figure was seized, their collar gripped tightly. The aggressive voice retorted, You need to pay the price for hitting me, right? Tears streamed down the blonde-haired figure's face. You came here to kill me, didn't you? Just then, an unexpected voice cut through the tension. What are you guys doing? Did something fun happen? The blonde-haired figure looked at her with a mix of hope and disbelief. I need to beg for her to save me. The red-haired woman arrived. Her presence alone seemed to command attention. A noble? She's so young. The muscular man with dark hair and a green tank top. This punk tried to kill me. That's not true. I accidentally bumped into him. But his words fell on deaf ears as a brutal strike landed. You expect me to believe that? As the blonde-haired figure reeled from the impact, instinctively trying to shield their face with their arms coughing. Bullies threatened him, even more asking for his mom to bring her over there. One man with scary look and other one laughing, saw a change in his eyes standing up from pain, as they hurted his feelings. Getting angry at him launched a kick on his face, cursing him while hitting him and say him to try again. Amidst the ongoing blows, be careful not to leave bruises on his face. Then, a firm, authoritative voice, Stop it. You're gonna kill the kid. She stood protectively over the blonde-haired figure, who lay bruised and broken on the ground. Are you okay? She asked. I didn't do anything. The blonde-haired figure sniffed, tears still wet on their face, their small body trembling with pain and lingering fear. Lady Amy, okay, let's stop with this. Isn't there anything more fun we can do? I was thinking of shaking him up, then selling him off to the southern village. A desperate, heart-wrenching cry escaped them, a primal call for safety and comfort. Dad! Lady Amy, her brow furrowed in thought. To be a slave, he can't have any possessions, right? She then continued, How about we confirm that? The aggressors, misinterpreting her words, shall we do a full body inspection? Now Chiron crying in fear as they tell him to strip down, or they will hit him again. Lady Amy's eyes widened in shock and disgust, her hand flying to cover her mouth. Come to think of it, what is up with him? She murmured. The blonde-haired figure looked up, their eyes glowing with a strange, unsettling intensity. Two characters are reacting to something unexpected or infuriating that has happened. A fly passing by as the men stopped in place. Bird flying, rats running. Chiron was shown in his spirit zone where he was able to sense everything in his view. Chiron, shocked trying to understand what's happening, saw a light flash from a distance. The light rushed to him with a spark leaving behind, showing his memory again with old man, showing him wind magic, surging his mind all the concepts to use it, while in present the guy shaking him angry as Chiron was ignoring him, now shown still in his spirit zone while in hands of the man. The girl realizing as what was happening, telling them to wait, but it was too late as Chiron standing in blue eyes with wind magic sending all the other people flying. Chiron sitting on the ground as wind dissipates, watches in air in shock as he also did not know what happened. In his eyes all people in air are shown as they start to fall, shouting in fear of falling. They fell from such a high place, made Chiron in shock and sweat in fear to see. everyone lying on floor with some broken bones, blood and some even passing out. Only the girl landing properly calling out for him, asking him who is he. Furious, she continues to ask, where did he learn magic? And how could commoner learn it? Chiron, already in much shock, could not answer her. As other people started to come near the area hearing the loud noise, girl in anger charges herself to leap from the Gorand. She moved with incredible speed, a blur of motion, as the blonde-haired character watched in awe. How can she move like that? They wondered. Someone has collapsed over here, a voice called out in the aftermath. Now him in fear looks back at the floor. The blonde-haired character, looking down the street at the carnage, thought to himself, people won't listen to someone like me, as he ran from the scene in a hurry. Dad! He cried out. Now a scene of whole city explained the whole world to be harsh. Meanwhile, in a stately mansion, a distinguished man with reddish-brown hair and glasses sat reading a newspaper in a luxurious armchair. Damn, I can't believe I was bested by that brat. Karmas Shakora continued, when will you grow up? Even though you are a genius, if you stay complacent, you could get taken by surprise one day. Lady Amy, looking rather annoyed, walked down the grand staircase. Karmas Shakora, a puzzled expression on his face. She's quiet today, as she thought. Dad. Lady Amy's green eyes flared. Magic, she murmured. What? All of a sudden. Karmas Shakora, he pondered. Lady Amy stood at the top of the grand staircase. If you know someone at a magic school, introduce them to me please.